Carrying debt can be so frustrating for people. It can be so stressful for people. And it can affect many different areas of life, including mental health. That's what Spurgill's second annual debt study is focused on. It's looking at debt load and the impact to psychological well-being. And we're going to talk about that study with Rob Kilner. He is a licensed insolvency trustee at Spurgill. He joins us now from Barrie, Ontario. Hello there.
Hey Bruce, how you doing?
We have talked about the study in the past, so we're here for
Yep.
year two. Let's begin first with the purpose. What are you trying to understand with this research?
Trying to actually understand not only just the debtor themselves, because we do understand that from a financial standpoint, but how it's actually affecting them on a personal level, because we don't always get in deep in that. And when you get deep like that, you end up understanding more how they got there and not so much getting them out of the situation, which is so critically important.
In your day to day, you've got a ton of anecdotal perspective because you're
Mm.
talking to clients, you're hearing their stories. This
Yeah.
study sort of rolls that up and gives you something maybe bigger picture. Tell us about some of the things that you found.
Some of these I found, so one last year where we found is that the stress load, as much as people can tell us, and we never really understood it because they always don't always open up to us, but when it becomes a survey, especially an honest one, they open up more, was extreme, like well more than I ever thought it was. So taking it a step further this year, we really wanted to get into, well, where is that stress coming from? How did it build up and everything? So, and that's what we got into this year.
And what were some of the findings there in terms of more nuanced insight on that stress?
One for me, being someone in their 40s, and I didn't totally grow up with this because it was just a generation a little bit after, but social media. It was actually shocking when we went into it of how much social media is impacting people. So part of our survey, we end up seeing two different stats when it comes to social media, but 73 to 80% of people are actually influenced by social media, not only from a purchasing standpoint, but also from a decision standpoint, like and how whether it's positive or negative. And for me, that's just scary because I'm going, whatever happened to being influenced by, I don't know, not strangers, your parents,
Yeah,
your
people
friends.
you trust, experts.
Exactly. So that was absolutely eye-opening for me, that big number there. So
We use debt as a umbrella term to account for many different ways in which people can borrow money. Some of them are low interest and relatively low risk, like a mortgage, and you're going to pay it off over 25 years. You have a job, all's good. To all the way at the other end of the continuum is like payday loans and the pawns and all that sort of things.
yeah.
Was there anything in your study that illuminated the relevance of the type of debt? I mean, not just the rates. I mean, obviously, rates on payday loans are gazillion times as expensive as a mortgage. But what insight did you have when you think about types of debt?
Yeah, so what we saw is how far someone got down the road is where they end up going to. So a very large majority had credit card debt. Then you've got your lines of credit and then your payday loans, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And where you end up seeing that is a lot into the psychological, right? So one surprising thing that we saw, so over 90% of people were actually stressed, obviously. But what actually surprised me is it was something like 40 something percent were moderate, 40 something were extremely stressed.
Hmm.
And I'm looking at that going, and who ends up being those people? It's as they just didn't give up. They didn't want to ask for help, and they got into those payday lenders. So there was a real correlation between the two. Is the more stressed you are, the more almost desperate, and not in a negative way, but desperate you are, and you sought those other types of loans.
For everybody in the what I call the continuum of care. So the licensed insolvency trustees, the nonprofit credit counselors, even the folks in collections at these major institutions, we're trying to get people to move forward and develop a plan to not only alleviate the debt burden, but to
Yeah.
mitigate that stress. When you think very tangibly about the conversations that you have with clients, what do you find makes a difference? What enables them to take action, whereas yesterday maybe they were completely stuck?
A lot of them getting over the fear, right? It's kind of just again part of the study we saw. 30% roughly were saying I just wanted somebody I can talk to and relate to. Where when we kind of look at it as going, everybody deals with that every day. Like you could have talked to your parent, but people don't. There's that stigma. They think they're a failure. They have these respondents. So it's kind of just talk to somebody. And that's what you kind of hear from the clients is like, oh, if I just talked to somebody, you probably could have handled this a lot before
Mm.
until the point they got to now.
Now, you asked the question in your study
Yep.
around the impact of filing a formal, consumer proposal or bankruptcy filing. I think I'll put a little asterisk beside it to say you're a licensed solvency trustee, so of course you would want the results of that study to say people feel so much better.
Yeah.
But let's look at the research at face value. What did
Yes.
you notice on that question, noting that you're not going to be, nor would I be, particularly objective on that point?
Well, so obviously it came out positive, but I think it more came out positive more just because people are actually dealing, they're getting a solution, right? And does it always have to be a proposal of bankruptcy? No, like absolutely. Debt management plan, debt consolidation plans, avoiding it, finding a different answer for them. But like there is that positive outcome they have. I think where we are seeing improvements, and I see it on a day to day, and this is more anecdotal when talking to people. The one thing positive about technology and everything is you are getting better information more reliable, whether it's chat GBT or something like that. People are coming more educated to us and they're understanding it a little bit better, which is actually it is a double-edged sword, but I do try to see the positive in it that there is a little bit more education out there than there was before, which is good.
Your firm, my nonprofit, I would consider us helping professionals. We're trying to help people,
Yes.
and we're not psychologists, we're not psychiatrists. So it's the intersection of financial issues and all the mental health things that you noted. As you come into those conversations, what are the things you've learned over your career that make a difference in mitigating the stress? In addition to, listen, it's not hopeless. We can come up with a plan here.
Being non-judgmental, just
Mm.
just understanding and letting them know one they aren't alone, but two it's every walk of life, right? So they always think it's only failures and everything, and I'm going, no, I've done budgets for $30,000 a month. Going, where are you spending the money?
Yeah.
Right? So you see, and once you kind of relate to them and going. No, all those people on your street that you think are maybe doing better, they have a boat and like you don't know because they do. Everybody is almost in the same boat at times. Like that affects everybody. It's not just I'm a failure, right? So and it's being not judgmental and helping and relating that way.
One of the other things that I'm sure for people that is stressful is I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to call someone like you or like a Credit Canada or whatever, and I'm going to have a conversation. What are the things that get covered in that conversation? And I ask that because I think just knowing how that's going to go can help alleviate some of the stress to know A, it's not going to be judgmental, B, it's going to be confidential, but C, here are the types of questions you're going to be asked. So, what would be some of the types of questions people would be prepared for when they picked up the phone and called you?
Very first things for me is I just want to get to know you, understand your situation because everybody is unique and just going, give me some ideas of how you kind of got here. Yes, we will get into a bit more of your debt, what assets, those type of nitty gritty. But I really just want to understand you, right?
Mm.
And make sure that I'm dealing with somebody who is a good person, like it needs help, is struggling, and that we maybe are the source. Because getting to know them, you sometimes hear different options that this might not be the answer, and pushing them in the right direction. But it's going through all their personal. I really want to get to know you. I want to understand you as a person because you're a human just like I am, and try to help you and relate as best as possible.
People will listen to this interview like tomorrow, next week, and maybe in a year. So we try and keep
Yeah.
our insight, what we call evergreen.
Yeah.
But broadly speaking, what would you say is a trend that you are watching for over the course of the next year or two, as it relates to debt and debt help for debt?
The housing, absolutely bar none, because you're seeing the crunch, an intersection of the crunch where rates have gone up, costs have gone up. People really stretch themselves because when they buy a house, they look at the mortgage payment, not the amount of the debt, and those obviously have gone up in the last couple of years with all these renewals come due. And to that fad boom of we should all have rental properties and be landlords, and them not being prepared for these changing dynamics and they're trying to pass the buck on to the renter who also can't afford it. So it's
Yeah.
just, I've never seen so many files with unpaid rent. I've never seen so many housing people who are just cash poor because the costs have gone up so much. So that sphere
Mm.
is just a bubble of waiting to pop.
Rob, thank you for your insight today. We appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much, Bruce.
Rob Kilner is a licensed insolvency trustee with Spurgill. He was here to talk about their survey on debt loads and the impact to psychological well-being.